Hey folks, Studio here. So sorry about the delay in the daily, my bad. So this weekend I had a few cool things happen, like the Kickstarter totally got funded, which is awesome. And I also casted a 4PL with Panky, which was a European tournament. Saw a bunch of cool teams, got to watch CLG EU and Moscow 5 play, also Team Derpers go very, very far. And that was just awesome, and I had so much fun that weekend. But I finished casting, I took a nap because I was on Euro time zone for all the casting, and I was pretty tired, and then I woke up, kind of did my thing for a little while, and spent a good, 36 to 48 hours either in the bathroom or sleeping. I immediately got food poisoning after 4PL, which is a good timing for that. And, well, I've been sick, I'm finally recovering, finally feeling better, and able to actually do this without looking like I'm dying. You guys get the I've been sick beard, and didn't have time to shave it, so congratulations to you guys. You also get me hitting the table and making some sounds. Today's replay is a Jungle Olaf replay. It's a pretty cool game. So Jungle Olaf, very, very strong. Not too common because you usually see him top. And in general, his role is kind of different because he's more of a farmer. But we'll see that in the replay, and let's hop in. So first things first, let's see who's playing who. And from our point of view, we have Dan Days on Olaf. We have Z-Sky King on Riven, Itakio on Corky, My Heart Beating on Vagar, Excuse Who on Janna, Mr. 419 on Morgana for Red Team, Yoster on Vladimir, Zhang Shui on Udyr, Blazing Toaster on Rumble, and Despotis on Leona. Zhang, I am so sorry if I'm not pronouncing your name right. My Chinese pronunciation, Mandarin, Cantonese, doesn't matter. It's awful. But anyhow, Dan Day is on Olaf, starting with a longsword. He has 83 AD right now, plus 25 at level 1. That's pretty high. Pretty standard for an AD carry. And only 11 armor penetration. So he's going for a very, very high, aggressive style of jungling. But it's only aggressive for the first few levels. He wants to take advantage of his very, very high AD to do a couple things. One, farm like crazy. This Olaf build is not going to be traditional. It's not going to be the normal tanky build. He wants to be essentially a mini carry who will be unstoppable for a short period of time, but die. However, in that short period of time, he should be able to go ahead and kill someone. Now, right now, his smite was not used. He did not smite blue, he did not smite wolves either, and he invades. Now look for signs to invade. Right here, wraiths were not moving. They were not attacking anything. Lizard was not moving. It was not attacking anything until that axe hit them. So we know Udyr is not there, and Dan Days just goes ahead, grabs it, and sneaks out. Now, you gotta be safe. You gotta be careful. And that looking for those signs, looking for those openings, is what makes it safe and careful. So if you see there are no signs that the enemy is there, and you see people on the minimap, you can try and take a guess and go, oh, they're probably not there. This should be safe. And Udyr tries to invade against Dan Days. And I love this fight because you see this a lot where people just don't expect the damage, but this is what Dan Days' build excels at. Look at his damage, it's 105 right now, his attack speed's 1.2. Udyr cannot keep up with either of those numbers. Olaf's passive giving him a huge boost, and the only reason he dies is because Morgana shows up. So at half health, Olaf was able to go ahead and just bully Udyr to death, and even with wraiths tanking him, or him tanking wraiths, he was able to almost survive. Now the reason he wanted to clear wraiths was twofold. One, if he does die, he wants that cleared, so it'll respawn and be good for farming. Two, he was trying to lifesteal with Reckless Swings and the 2% lifesteal he had to try and survive. He was very, very close. If Ignite did not have the lifesteal reduction it currently has, he would have survived. So if it was old Ignite from a few months ago, he would have made it. Now, I love this attempt at a counter gank, and I love Udyr showing up. So he goes mid to try and stop Morgana and kill her because she was low. Udyr was actually inside the bushes by his red buff. And he saw Olaf going towards mid, immediately runs out to cut him off. He knew his ghost was down, and he knew that if he got a stun off, he would die. So just very, very odd coordination. Very, very unexpected, really. But it worked out in favor of blue team. Now, unfortunately for Dandays, 2 deaths is a lot of deaths to give up. And he did get first blood, which is great for him. But he fed Morgana 2 buffs. And Udyr did get an assist. So that was about the same amount of gold, actually more for blue team, that went into their pockets versus that first blood, and then he gave an extra kill. And the question is, well, what do you do in those circumstances where you're really far behind? Well, for Dandays, it actually doesn't matter because he wants to farm like crazy. That is going to be his focus. He's here to catch blue buff the second it spawns. He was a few seconds off. He actually could have done wolves in this case. Try to make your timings as tight as possible. And he immediately goes for Udyr's red. Now, why is this cool? Well, he did not see Udyr's red die. If you notice from the past and in the chat, he only killed the main lizard. So he left 2 little guys up, but he assumed Udyr would walk by there because it makes sense. And in doing so, he had a general estimate for when Udyr was going to have his red cleared. Now, a lot of the time you have to base your information off things you obviously see. If you see red and little guys die at 2 minutes, it'll be up by 7. But in that case, he knew that Udyr was probably going to do this, and if he didn't, you know what? He'd be so far behind that it's okay if he goes to check. So right now, Vladimir is beating Riven, and Dandays still goes to harass him. I'm sorry, Riven is beating Vladimir. My mistake. And Dandays still goes to harass him. Now, normally you don't want to really deal with a lane that's already winning, because if it's significantly ahead, then what are you going to do? Get another kill and just keep them significantly ahead? It doesn't really matter that much most of the time. I mean, if you can get a gank and then get a tower, that's cool. If you can get a gank and then do something else, that's generally useful, but just keeping someone ahead when they're already ahead is normally not very tricky. So that gank up there, I like it just because it's a bit of pressure, and it wasn't done to try and change the lane. It was done just because Dandays was nearby. And he thought, oh, you know what? I'm near Vladimir. I can do this. And that is how Dandays is playing his jungler. He is not a ganker. He is not someone who's going to be too counter jungle based. He's just going to pop in every now and then to pick up what he knows he can. And he's just going to go ahead and be aggressive if it's situationally okay. Now, bot lane, by the way, is Leona Rumble versus Corki and Janna. So there is no AD carry for blue team. Red team does have Corki. This is going to come up a lot more in part 2 when the team parts start happening and we see a lot more Corki. But just bear in mind that there is no AD carry for blue team. And Dandays has Berserker's Greaves. So this is a very, very AD carry based build. No Merc Treads, no Ninja Tabby, none of that tankiness. He just wants to kill dudes, and I can respect that. So this fight starts out because from the minimap and this board, you could tell Zhang was headed into Red's jungle. Now, it starts, and I find irrelevant. What I find important is that Janna is coming in from the jungle, and Riven is coming in from top lane. Why is that important? Because this fight, it's probably going to go in favor of Olaf and Veigar. Mr. 419 does a ton of damage. He might kill Veigar, but Olaf should have been able to kill Morgana once her ult and binding were down. So why do I find that play so important? Because they were making sure they won that fight. They were guaranteeing it. So if the odds are kind of shaky or you might not win, it might be a risk, you know what? Go crazy. Go down there and help. Help your team, because if you help your team win, that's going to matter a whole lot more than missing 3 or so CS. So bot lane, if you couldn't see what happened there, was kind of funny. Rumble just blew up the enemy Janna, just comboed her down. And here Dandays is coming to help just to secure the kill. He runs to pick up his axe, but he's just a little too late on it. And Leona gets away. And this is just kind of like one of those unfortunate side effects where you really can't do anything. Dandays is trying quite a bit to prevent Morgana from getting that kill, but with her black shield, she wasn't going to be slowed. And there was not a whole lot he could do in that case, and there's not a whole lot he can do in this case. The enemy team is there. He does have his ult up, he doesn't have his smite up. So what's he gonna do? He can rush in, reckless swings, and throw an axe, but he might just die. Luckily, Riven is taking top at this point. So something important is, if there's a situation where the enemy is getting some benefit and you cannot stop them, there's nothing you can do, then you know what? Let them have it. If they're taking Baron and you're the only person up alive and you are a Terrip with no mana, let them get Baron. It's okay. It's okay. Now, bottom lane in general is going very, very unfortunately for blue team because Corki's getting farm and he's getting kills. Rumble is getting kills, he's not getting very much farm, but that's just something to remember for later. And this is kind of what Dandays wants to do. So he thinks Vladimir's in this bush, he goes into it, and he's pretty much dead. Riven does show up, but there's no way you can really escape from Olaf. He has Ghost, he has his axe. He is one of the best chasers in the game. And his general idea is, I'm going to stick onto you, and you will die. Which is a pretty solid battle plan. If the battle plan is, they will die, I like it. So we have another team fight that's going to emerge in a bit. And it's important to know where your team is on the map. So Corki's at bottom right now. And I want you to remember that. But aside from that, all of blue team is up here, and red team is kind of spread out. We see that Corki is once again still bot lane. Riven and Olaf are fighting top with Udyr and Leona. And then bottom we have Corki Janna chasing Rumble. So this fight starts out very, very well for red team. They have a lot of skirmishing power with Olaf, with Riven. And the AoE, CC, and damage from Mr. 419 is a lot, but it's not quite enough. And this fight's gonna last for quite a while. It's a very, very long-winded fight. And this fight is just kind of showing the strength of red team. They don't have quite the same teamfight presence that blue team does, but they have a very, very assassin-y style team. Even Corki is assassinating people. And really, you're going to see the strength of Morgana in this situation too. So right now, Dandays is just going ahead, doing wolves, and Corki is chasing Morgana. Morgana has about 300 HP at this point, but she's landing her skill shots. And something I want to ask you, the viewer, is, did you see that coming? Did you think that would happen? And do you ever think, oh man, if I keep chasing it, I'm gonna die? Well, do you know what you should do if you get that feeling, if you get that imagination in your head? Stop doing it. Stop chasing. I know so many people who have said, oh man, I thought it was a bad idea. But they will chase as a group, and they will not ping, and we will die. Ping, let your team know, get that information out there. If you think you're going to lose a fight, or if you think you're walking into a trap, let your team know. It is your role, it is your duty. Now, that was individual right there. That was just kind of dumb from Morgana, from Veigar and Corki. I'm sorry, but you guys kind of screwed up. It was kind of bad to chase Morgana into bushes and just get bound and pulled non-stop. It was also really funny, so I have to give you guys credit for that, but know when to stop. And once again, this is the power of Riven in this matchup. They have characters like Rumble that need to stay close. They have characters like Udyr who need to stay close. And Riven can just kill them if they're too squishy, which in this case, Rumble is. He doesn't have the CS, he doesn't have a Rylai's, he doesn't have a Zhonya's. So what's he going to do to stay alive? Not much. And Dandays just starting fights in the enemy team because he can. And I love this. I love that he's just, out there doing it because he has this advantage, he has this potential. The enemy team can't stop him. There is very little in the enemy team to stop Olaf because you can't. What they need to do is they need to protect themselves. But they can't, they're just not in that position, they don't have the composition for it. So Dandays is taking advantage of the enemy team, and this is actually the end of part 1. It's kind of one-sided at the moment, but in part 2 we're going to see a lot more team fighting, a lot more aggression, and the strength of no AD carry is going to become very, very apparent in part 2. So the studio is saying, see you then.